What's going on, folks? Ted from Immersion here. And if you're unaware, which I was unaware of, there is a brand new adventure that recently kind of released for free called Borderlands Quest Goblin Trouble. This is for free on D&D Beyond, and it is a level 1 adventure. Let's just go ahead and take a look at it. I'm not going to dive into it too deep because one, it's a level 1 adventure, so there's not too much that can be done, but also I don't want to spoil it in case you want to run it. It might also be kind of fun, but I know a lot of people are kind of against playing games at level 1 because of the lethality of it. But here is I'll put a link to this in the description. It says, join us to celebrate International Day of Play with Borderlands Quest Goblin Trouble, an introductory adventure offering new and younger players and dungeon masters the perfect welcome into the world of D&D. The exciting tale takes the players on a classic D&D journey to the iconic Caves of Chaos to retrieve a stolen bell of great importance. For a more accessible experience, it includes 8 pre-made character sheets and helpful guidance every step of the way for the dungeon master, which is something I did see when I kind of skimmed through it. The pre-gens are going to be all of the D&D cartoon characters. Borderlands Goblin Quest is available for free. Register in your D&D Beyond account. What's included is a short self-contained adventure, an overview of D&D and key rules, text for new dungeon masters to read aloud, including text for play setup, guidance on running the adventure for the dungeon master, encouraging roleplay and keeping the adventure moving, 8 pre-made character sheets, a map and stat blocks, so there's no need to reference other D&D rule books. And then this is the actual adventure itself. So one of the things that I like is it actually does specifically like call out to the dungeon master, like, hey, here's some stuff for you to read. So it tells you flat out like what the stat blocks you're going to need are. Here are the characters that they have pre-made for you. And then it even has in pink here, read aloud text. Text inside a box like this, like the text above is meant to be read aloud to the players, meaning the green text here. If you're comfortable doing so, you can summarize or paraphrase the text. Just always make sure to mention important information, especially when that text is describing the setting the characters are in. It's hard for them to interact with the world and the story when they don't know what's there to interact with. So, again, you can go down to introducing the characters, and it says right here, this I really like. Here's the green kind of text for the intro. These characters are the heroes you can play in this adventure, pre-gens. The words and numbers on these sheets describe who these characters are and what they're good at doing and other important information. Choose the hero you'd like to play. As we play through the adventure, we'll talk more about these words and what the numbers mean. Let's discuss some basics first. Name. There's a space at the top of the character sheet where you write your character's name. Species, background, and class. Each character in D&D has a species, background, and class that helps determine who a character is and what they must do, what they do best. Other information on a character sheet is based on these 3 elements. Abilities and ability scores. All creatures, including your characters, have 6 ability scores: strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. Each of the ability scores governs a specific characteristic. Strength is physical might, dexterity is agility, reflexes and balance. Constitution is health and stamina, intelligence is reasoning and memory, wisdom is perceptiveness and mental fortitude, and charisma is confidence, poise, and charm. Each ability has a score from 1 to 20, although your characters will have scores ranging from 8, weaker than human average, to 16 or more, strong capability. Each of those scores has an ability modifier next to it. Whenever you roll a d20 test, a d20 roll to determine success or failure, with a specific ability, you'll modify the roll by the number appearing there. Initiative. Each character has an initiative modifier. When we get to a point in the adventure where we take turns, particularly during combat, I'll tell you to, quote, roll initiative. When this happens, roll a d20 and add your character's initiative modifier. After we get everyone's initiative, I'll arrange them in order, starting with the character with the highest initiative roll. From there, you'll act in descending order. After everyone acts, that's the end of the round. The initiative order remains the same from round to round for the whole combat. If there's a tie, I'll decide which character or creature goes before the others. Attacks. Each character can make attacks with melee or ranged weapons or with melee or ranged spells. Melee means an attack is where the characters will be right next to the foe. Ranged means an attack that's used at a distance. Ranged attacks include the distance you must be within to hit a foe. The number after the attack's name on your character sheet is added to the d20 roll, a roll of the d20 20-sided die you make when your character attacks. The higher the number, the more likely the attack is to succeed. Armor class and hit points. Each character has an armor class, also called AC, and hit points, also called HP. A character's armor class is based on their speed, armor, and other factors and describes how difficult it is for them to be hit with an attack roll. The higher the AC, the harder they are to hit. Hit points determines the amount of damage a character can take. When your character takes damage, you subtract that damage from their hit points. If a character's hit points reach 0, they are unconscious. You'll learn how to regain hit points later in the game. Skills. Each character can use the skills listed on the character sheet. The number after a skill shows what the player adds to a d20 roll. The higher the number, the better the character is at that skill. If a character wants to use a skill that isn't on their character sheet, the player rolls a d20, 20-sided die, adds an ability score modifier if the DM tells them that ability applies. Equipment. Character has equipment they can use to overcome challenges. They also might find more equipment during their adventures. And then spells or other abilities. Each character has spells, special features, or other abilities. You get to choose when your character uses their spells or special abilities. However, each character can use their spells and special abilities either a limited number of times or only under special circumstances. If there's a small box text next to a spell or ability, that means you can only use it that number of times. Check off the box when you use it to track how many uses you have left. Honestly, this is really nice. This is probably one of the best, most succinct descriptions of like what's on a character sheet I've seen, even better than I feel like what's in the player's handbook. This is really nice. And then it has like some general rules to provide to the party as like being good players. It says, let the players ask any questions they have about the character sheet. When it seems like they're ready to begin the adventure, read the following, which is something I think that should also be posted in other places. But here's some advice for being a good player. Be a good teammate. D&D is a cooperative game, meaning that everyone should work together to have fun. Think about your character's actions. D&D is a storytelling game where your character can choose to do anything in a scene, but that doesn't mean they should do everything. Your character is good at certain things, and other player characters are good at other things. Let everyone participate, everyone is here to play, and everyone should get to contribute to scenes. Be supportive. Discuss plans with other players and with me, the Dungeon Master. Work to help other people do things. Encourage the other players on their turns and give suggestions when they ask for them. Be respectful if another player decides to do something that you wouldn't do. What a wild. I'm gonna pull up my snipping tool, and I'm gonna snip that right now because I'm gonna make a YouTube post about it, because this is one of the best uses of like I can't believe we've never seen something like this before. It's just kind of crazy. So let's just go ahead and grab that. There we go. All right. More rules, details, and this kind of gives you more information about, how things work, difficulty class, and this is more DM specific stuff. And then it goes into introducing the game. Now that you're familiar with your characters and the basic rules of the games, we're going to play a short adventure to introduce you to D&D. As the Dungeon Master, I tell you what's going on in the world around you, and I use the rules and dice rolls to determine what happens in the story. But the most important aspect of the game is your input. You help the story tell the story of your character's adventures. In a moment, I'll describe the scene you're in, and then you'll tell me what you want your character to do. Your character can try to do anything, but each character is specifically trained to do specific things well, so think about what your character might be more successful doing. Their skills are listed and described on your character sheet. When your character does something that could be a success or failure, I'll have you roll one of these 20-sided dice and add the number to it. This is called a D20 test, and the number you add indicates how good or bad your character is at what they're doing or trying to do. The result tells me whether your character succeeds or fails, then I'll describe the outcome and the story moves forward. Let's begin playing this adventure. It's called Borderlands Quest Goblin Trouble. And then it has a little bit of tips here for the Dungeon Master, which I think I'm also going to read because there's some good ones here as well. Right? Rule 0. The rule 0 of D&D is simple. Have fun. It's fine if everyone agrees to change the rules as long as they're doing so makes the game more fun for everyone. Be supportive. The players and the DM are on the same team. DMs aren't playing against the players. The DM wins when the players have fun and the story is exciting and memorable. Some of you really need to lock in on that one. Use yes and or no but. Allow the players to succeed as much as possible and participate in the story. If they want to try something unexpected, try to say yes and work their ideas into the story. If you have to say no to an idea, suggest options that might work. Use your imagination. Adventures are an outline for your game. Change or add anything that makes the game more fun. What does a monster smell like? That's up to you. Or the players can, or you can ask the players what they think. NPCs are your voice. While the players determine what their characters do, the DM controls the other characters in the game. Non player characters, also known as NPCs, are a great tool for you to help the characters understand the game and the story and to work information into the story smoothly. Allow alternatives. D&D is a game of fantasy where heroes use wit, skill, and determination to overcome obstacles. Sometimes those obstacles are defeated with weapons and spells, but characters can succeed in other ways. Communicating with monsters, tricking them or frightening them away, or avoiding a fight while cleverly sneaking past a challenge can be just as much fun. Listen to your players. Encourage your players to speak to you publicly or privately if something in the game upsets them. Then respond appropriately. For instance, you can move past upsetting topics by quickly narrating a resolution to the scene, then quickly move to the next part of the story. And then it gives you a little bit more about DM advice here as well. Playtime. Learning to pace an adventure to make sure that it runs in a set time takes practice, but here are some tips to help. Give all the players an opportunity to make comments and discuss the game as it plays. Once everyone has had a chance to give input, ask questions and discuss the game situation. Prompt the players to make a decision and keep the game moving. To prompt the players, summarize the situation as they understand it and then say, what do you do? Presenting encounters. This adventure is divided into encounters, which are like scenes from a movie or show. Each encounter has specific challenges. Once the players complete the challenges, move on to the next scene. The flow of the game is described below. Game flow. A D&D session begins with the DMs and their players having a conversation. The DM explains the situation the characters are in. The players can ask questions about the situation, and the DM answers those questions to further explain what's happening. Then the DM asks the most important question in the DM's toolbox. What do you do? At this point, the players explain what they want their characters to do. If what they want to do is impossible, tell them so and ask them to choose a different action. For example, a character can't walk through a wall unless they have some special ability or magic that allows them to do so. If the action is impossible and is possible rather and is very easy to do, the characters automatically succeed. Opening an unlocked door or lifting a light object doesn't require heroic effort, so no d20 roll is necessary. When the character is somewhere between easy and impossible, trying to do it could lead to success or failure. That's when the DM calls for a d20 roll. See the d20 test section earlier in this document. This roll, plus its modifiers, determines whether the character succeeds or fails. What does success or failure mean for an adventure? This is where you and the players get to tell a story, narrating successes and failures. When a d20 roll succeeds or fails, the DM and the players can turn that result into a part of the ongoing story. What does it look like when a monster is defeated? What does a gnome barbarian say or do if the heavy boulder blocking the cave doesn't budge? These points in the game spark great storytelling and acting moments. Remember, though, that part of the DM's job is to keep the game's story moving forward. If describing every single attack roll in a combat gets boring, just say how much damage the attack deals and get to the next exciting moment. Can I tell you, what I just read, that past 10 minutes or 13 minutes of reading, I don't know where that is in the player's handbook and the Dungeon Master's Guide. Maybe it's in there, but it's not as present as it should be, because this is some of the best player and DM advice I think I've ever seen from Wizards of the Coast. Not only does it give you a really good rundown of explaining to the players what their character sheet is, it also gives them a great example of, hey, don't be a dick when it comes to being a player, because some people really need to hear that whole concept of like, you're working together. Consider other people have things that might be like, if I'm the rogue and I'm the sneaky one, you don't have to be like, well, I'll do it. And it's like, well, that's kind of their shtick. Like, let them do their thing so that they can feel like they're contributing to this. And then be supportive. That line about like, be respectful if another player decides to do something that you wouldn't do. These are excellent series of advice here. And then going on to kind of describe how the DM sets up the scene and kind of explains like, okay, we're going to roll into the adventure. And then all those tips for DMs like, hey, have fun. You're not against the players. Try yes and or no but. NPCs are how you direct the, tell your story and kind of interject your will into the game. Don't you can't force the players to do something. Allow alternatives if things don't make sense. Listen to the players, specifically if something doesn't like jive with what they like to hear, or, they're upset about something. And then that whole set about like, here's how to like time, try to get your game to fall into a time frame that you're looking for. Here's how to present an encounter. Here's how to go through game flow. Here's how to narrate success and failure. Something that I think some people could probably very much use is the concept of, if describing every single attack roll in a combat gets boring, just say how much damage and move on. I know everybody wants to have these great, amazing descriptions of what their combat attacks look like. Sometimes, I'll be honest, you're just bogging the game down. Just say 20 points of damage and move on. So, yeah. Obviously, if we were to continue on from there, it will roll into the maps and the adventure proper. It is a level 1 adventure, so it can't be too dangerous for everybody. It has a couple of small encounters where you're going to encounter different enemies. And at the end, you're going to get a cool kind of little magic item, that a magic stick, essentially. And it's just a good, well-designed adventure. I guess it says if the players are interested in more adventures, you can continue the story in the D&D starter set Heroes of the Borderlands, available in September. That provides more information on the area that we took, the Borderlands area, and plenty of more opportunities for adventures. The players can also create more customized versions of their characters or completely new characters using D&D Beyond, right? If you don't want to use the pre-gens, I think for the first time, maybe the pre-gen's a bad idea, but either way. And it also provides throughout the adventure, like, other options and, like, DM information, like, hey, if you think it's too easy, maybe up the encounter or lower the encounter. And then also maybe here's some other alternatives to solving some of the problems as opposed to just straight out combat. So anyway, I think this is a phenomenal document. I think everybody should pick that up and definitely read those kind of early level basics about D&D, because it's some of the best advice you could give to players and dungeon masters, new and old. So anyway, let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below, and I'll see you all next time.